Welcome to Android Authority On Air, the original Android Hangout show on Google+. I'm Derek Ross.
And I'm Scott Anderson.
This week we're joined with Dan Charlton, John Curley, and John Franklin. Thanks, guys, for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Good to be here.
All right, so let's see what we're going to talk about this week. We're going to hit up some Android ecosystem news, talk about some new devices that are leaving the market, coming onto the market. There's been a whole ton of app updates this week. Google updated, I wouldn't say everything, but for argument's sake, we're going to say they updated everything.
Everything, yeah.
And devices, we have some devices getting Jelly Bean, devices getting unlocked, carrier news, LTE, all the things pretty much everywhere. Every carrier's given LTE all they got, except for T-Mobile, but they're HSPA plusing all the things. And as usual, we'll hit up some patent wars before we call it a night. So let's talk about some Android ecosystem updates. Those of you that are watching across the pond, which we know some of you are, over in the UK, you'll be happy to know that Play Magazines is now available in the UK. So if you wanted to check out some magazines in Google Play, now you can. If you're watching from Russia, which we know that some of you are, Play books and magazines are now available in Russia. So you can go ahead and check those out and get books and magazines over in Russia. That's cool. Global Domination Phase 2.
Oh, poor Derek.
We'll wait for Derek to come back right now. I don't think Derek's going to come back.
That's that 2G network for you.
You got rid of the 2G network.
Hangouts on Air does this. I don't know why.
It usually happens during his introduction as well.
Yeah. And he's back.
And I'm back. That's getting annoying. All right, so did any guys say anything, or you just say, damn it, Derek left?
Nah, that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah.
All right, so Hangouts messed up, as sometimes is the usual, sometimes not. Right, so Dell is officially leaving the Android smartphone market. If you interesting enough, the only smartphones that the DoD was allowed to use were smartphones made by Dell. So now that Dell was officially not making any more, I wonder what they're going to do, what vendor they're going to approve next. The Nook and the Nook HD Plus are now available at Walmart for $199 and $269 respectively. Walmart's the largest retailer in the world, or one of the largest. I'm not sure on their sales numbers, but that's great for for Barnes and Noble's Nook devices. Get more exposure for them. And on the Android Nexus front, Nexus 4 images without a word, or actually there was a word. JBQ said I cannot comment on that. The Nexus 4 images disappeared from the Google download site, and apparently the Nexus 10 images actually were never there, and people didn't care or didn't notice because the Nexus 4 was there. The
Nexus 10 binaries were there.
Well, they're not there now. So they
It was just the Nexus 4 that was affected. The Nexus 4 binaries were never there, but the images were. Some places were reporting that both were taken down, but only one was ever actually there.
One was ever actually, yeah. The Nexus 4 was the only one that was ever actually there.
Yes.
So people were wondering, speculating, why were the Nexus 4 images removed? Is it because licensing? Is it because of LTE? Is it because of something we don't know? Is it because Android 4.2.2 is coming out? I mean, there's a lot of reasons. Dan, what do you want to add to the rumor mill as to why you think they were removed?
Some of the rumors that I've seen, and I think that this is potentially has some merit to it, is that after people hacked it to run on a couple of places that AT&T actually has LTE deployed on AWS, it's running into some FCC problems. So in order to actually be allowed to operate on any particular frequency in this country, you have to get approved to do so by the FCC. And the Nexus 4 is not approved to do so on LTE over AWS. And so some enterprising XDA users made it do that, and the government tends to frown on that. And so
But they really didn't do anything. I mean, it's all in the software. It didn't require any special software hacks or anything. They just found out it works.
Exactly. And so I think Google is likely to update things such that that is disabled in the hardware, or in the software, rather.
Yeah, so those of you that don't remember or aren't 100% sure on the process, they just brought up the phone testing menu. It's entering a bunch of pound signs, asterisk, numbers into the phone. It brings up the phone testing menu, and there's also an app you can get in the Play Store to bring up the phone testing menu. You'll be able to do that in Android for since time began. It's something you can do.
You can do it on most phones.
Yeah, so when you bring that up, you have the option to then switch bands. And and since the Nexus 4 technically has sort of has LTE, when you select LTE, it uses band 4, and found out there's, for argument's sake, maybe 10 places AT&T has band 4 AWS here in the U.S. And if you just happen to live in one of those 10 cities that has a very small deployment, you're gonna get LTE. You're not supposed to, but the hardware supports it. I said, and there's not too many people that can actually do that. Like like Dan and I said, it's only very, very select few places in the U.S.
I mean, that's going to change when T-Mobile rolls out their LTE, but in general, yeah, right now there's not a lot of places you can do that. But still, it's not licensed to do that at all, and so Google probably had to stop distributing software that's allowed to do things that the government says it can't.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that was probably the case.
There's one point brought up in the comments by John Leisk that the Nexus 10 images were removed because they were formatted for the 16 gigabyte version.
Well, that's more of a maintenance thing.
Makes sense. Makes
No,
sense.
that does make perfect sense.
Yeah, they found an issue with the images they released, so they took them down.
Yes. So, some of you that are watching right now may have noticed that the past couple of weeks I didn't get disconnected during the show, and now one of those viewers is back that hasn't watched in a couple weeks, and I randomly get disconnected. I think it's a conspiracy theory. So let's move on here. Let's talk about some exciting news that is part of the Android ecosystem. It also affects our very own Dan Charlton. As you could, if you're an avid viewer of the show, I used to introduce Dan as from Tiamat. Tiamat is a kernel. Used to be also ROMs too, but now it's mainly kernel that Dan has been doing for quite some time. He develops kernels for, I'm going to just make it easy and say pretty much every HTC device there is. So I got to the point when I was doing his introductions, I started feeling bad that Dan doesn't do kernels anymore. So Dan doesn't do kernels and publicly release them anymore because he's busy. Life happens, job, moving, being awesome. I mean, he didn't have time. He didn't want to lessen his awesome to get back into kernel developing until recently. Dan has made a Nexus 4 kernel, and he's also, correct me if I'm wrong, working on its sister, the Optimus G.
Mm-hmm. Working with a couple of other developers on that one.
And some breaking news that somehow somebody in this hangout, Derek Ross, might be the maintainer for the Tiamat kernel for the DNA. As of last night, Dan and I were working on Tiamat kernel for that. I have a lot of work to do still, but fingers crossed, confidence high. I'm going to be running a Tiamat kernel compiled and all the Git commits cherry-picked and pulled into the kernel and running that here very, very shortly. So I'm excited that I'm going to be running my own kernel with the help of Dan, and we're going to bring Tiamat back from the grave.
I still resent the implication that it was dead, but yes, I really haven't done a lot of public work lately. I've been doing a lot of behind-the-scenes work with other developers here and there, but been just generally busy with life and not really working on it. And a lot of the HTC devices lately have been such a pain in the neck to work on that I've just not been motivated.
So what changed that you decided to? You said, "Hey, I want to get back into a little bit of kernel deving." That you decided to do it with the Nexus 4.
Well, I noticed that even on stock it'll do this. It has an issue where it basically idles at about 1 gigahertz on a single core, which, I mean, that's less than 100% of 1 out of 4 cores, so really not a whole lot in the total processing potential, but that's a lot to be just sitting around idling on it all the time. So there's a lot of ways where there's extra battery power to be saved and tweaks here and there to make things better. And so, I mean, now that I have a Nexus device and it's so much easier to actually do these things on it, and I don't have to fight with it all the time, I'm feeling a lot more motivation.
Very good. It's fun, and I'm excited that I'm gonna, be a maintainer for the device that I have, which we'll get to talking about a little bit later in the show, because apparently everyone needs to know why I'm not using a Nexus device and I'm using an HTC device. The horror. All right, so let's talk about some app news. Let's get off the ecosystem and Tiamat news.
All right, so Google's been on a tear with updates lately, a big tear. And some of them have been small updates, some of them have been very significant updates and complete overhauls. So let's start off with Play Magazines. Basically, it got support for future interactivity. I don't know what that means. Maybe different types of places that they can get it. Not quite sure. The search, Google Search, got updated. It was a minor update. Well, we don't really know because there's no changelog. But they pushed a big one and then they had a small one. So we're not really sure what that update entails. Shame on you for no changelog. Drive got bug fixes and other improvements. I've noticed a lot smoother and less bugs. It's nice.
Bug fixes and other improvements is not a changelog.
People need to understand what a changelog is.
This isn't just people, right? Like, some random developer not releasing a changelog. Okay, fine. God, that guy needs to learn how to release. This is Google. Come on, get it together. Release a freaking changelog. It's not that hard. It takes you 5 minutes to sit down and type it out.
It's turned into an epidemic. Just think about it. How many apps that have been updated in the past so many months have the old changelog when they're updated?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they're generalizing it way too much to
fixes.
Lots of people.
Well, no, but even when they're okay for like I really wanted to know about one of the updates this week that came out with Google Search, and it didn't say anything. I was a little upset about that.
You guys ever looked at Google Chrome for desktop, their stable channel? I mean, it gives pretty great detail of the fixes and stuff and holes that were closed.
Right. Like, I don't want to hear bug fixes. I want to know what bugs were fixed.
Yeah. How it affects me.
Right.
I am not a huge Currents user, Google Currents. Dan, you are. I saw the new UI and I'm excited. I'm thinking I'm going to start using it a little bit more. So can you tell us a little bit more about what went on in that update?
It was a pretty significant update. It brought in a new widget, which is very nice. More of the cards kind of UI that they've been going towards. It adds an addition sidebar, so it's a lot easier to navigate through your different news outlets. Some scanning improvements. You can mark different stories more easily for read and unread, including having it automatically hide things you've already read. Saving stories for future reference, basically just starring and favoriting them, as well as breaking stories ranked by Google News. So it's definitely a big update. I've noticed it being a lot faster than it had been previously, and it kind of chugged before. So, I mean, it definitely is a huge improvement on Currents.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting how it integrates with Google News. It pulls in, breaking stories from there.
Yeah, I wish that integration went the other direction. So, like, when I went to Google News on my desktop, it was pulling from my current sources.
Or it actually looked like Google Currents instead of...
I don't even care so much about the UI. I care about the random, nonsensical news outlets that Google News feeds me that aren't outlets that I care about.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's one service.
Customize it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, like Currents, I'm subscribing to particular like particular publications, I'm obviously selecting my news in that regard, but you'd think that they then in a news aggregator pull from the publications that they know I'm selecting.
Well, basically from day one of Current's release, it was slow, and now it is a lot faster. So,
Yeah.
Great job, Google, on that. In that respect, it's definitely improved.
There's one place that's one place they could afford to consolidate a little bit more too, with Google Reader, and have it all in
Well,
one.
Google Reader is dying a slow death.
It
I love
is,
Google
and
Reader because of the simplicity and the low data usage. It's phenomenal, in my personal view, for what I use it for.
Whenever I got my Nexus 7, I stopped using Reader, and I started to use Currents as my main news aggregate, and I love Currents now. I use it all the time. I like Reader because I still use that every day on the desktop, but I like Currents. It's turned into a beautiful app. It's a lot better than it was when it first got released, and I really like it.
Hey, a YouTube viewer wants to see your phone, Derek.
My phone? Okay. Yeah. So HTC Droid DNA, and I have a Cruiser Lite TPU Androidified case that I got on it. I'm not normally a case user. I haven't used a case ever in my, we'll say ever. I maybe used one 10 years ago. Who knows? I haven't used a case in a long time. I don't like cases because nowadays, manufacturers spend so much, research and development to make these things light, thin, sexy. And what do? We bastardize it and put a case on it right away.
shove it in an outer box.
Yeah. But you know what? This phone is so thin that this case doesn't increase its footprint really at all. And it's a little slippery. And plus, I picked the damn thing up, and I don't know which way I picked it up, if it's upside down or right side up. And it really annoys me. And I was like, well, I'm going to get a case. They're only $9. Let me get one.
Because there's a big
Lens
screen.
on one end wasn't a giveaway.
Or the
Okay,
screen.
when you pick this thing up and the alarm's going off, I don't want to sit there and feel around it, trying to find the hole, Yeah.
You let those go by.
That was not in record of anything.
But it's I like the phone. I hate the UI. I hate the Sense.
Sense is garbage.
But I love this phone. I really do. Russell Hawley, he's a smart guy. I should have listened to him in the beginning when he told me not to buy the Nexus 4 and not to try to use it on 2G because I was going to hate it. I
told you to.
Yeah, but I tried to use.
Wait, aren't you holding the phone I told you to get instead?
I tried to use the Nexus 4 on 2G in my area because that's all I have here. For 2 weeks, I used the hell out of that thing, and you know what? I can't do it. 2G sucks. So I went with the next best thing. It has the same processor in it that the Nexus 4 does. It has a 1080p screen. Sure, Ingress looks a little weird. That's because the screen's too awesome for Ingress,
That's the first time I've ever heard Derek Ross diss Ingress.
Ingress is a good time. I like the phone. I do. And Cruiser Lite, we've had them on the show before. They're good people. I'll plug them for a second. Go ahead and their cases are cheap, $10 or so, maybe $15. They're nice. It's TPU. It's not rubber. It's not plastic. It's some space age material. It's not bad. It's not too hard, but it's not too soft. I like the case, and I got one for my wife. She has my Galaxy Nexus now. She loves it. She likes the case, and she's not really a case person either.
I'm not much of one either. I had one on the Nexus 7. I will say that they pay a lot of attention to detail as far as the cutouts for all the, where a lot of cases kind of fall short, especially with USB ports and headphone jacks. They pay a lot of attention to detail.
A good question. Your old devices, do you guys just sell them right away, or do you give them to other people close to you?
I sell them.
You sell them?
I normally sell them, but my wife was stuck with this guy right here. My original phone, which she got a different. She had one of her own, but the HTC Incredible, and I couldn't let my wife use this old dinosaur anymore. So I gave her my Galaxy Nexus. So it's still being used. In a year from now, whenever that phone's ready to be sold, I'll sell it. I'll give her the DNA, and I'll get the Nexus 5 or whatever.
Yeah, I've got the 3 that I just picked up, plus 2 more that I've either loaned or given away to other people.
Yeah, Dan has an arsenal of phones
I
sitting
do, you're
beside
right.
him.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
20 plus
We
devices.
got off on a tangent there. Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
So let's move on to some more app updates. YouTube is another one. Got a revamped UI for 10-inch tablets, finally. It's just kind of like the other one, but a little bit more features. Kind of things look better. It's a nice UI overhaul. And it has bug fixes for all devices. It is general, but on my current phone, Galaxy Nexus 4 in the mail, I sense that it is less buggy, which is nice, especially on a data connection with a carrier. Then Sound Search, it made its first debut in the Play Store. Pretty cool. Personal opinion, it's really slow, but it is accurate from what I've used it for. Comparing it to other services like Shazam and SoundCloud or SoundHound, it doesn't compare in speed at all.
All right. But Scott, like Shazam and SoundCloud, they don't take you to the Google Play Store to buy music for Google Play.
They don't.
Very true.
So if you're in,
I know SoundHound will link you to other places.
if you're into Google's ecosystem, Sound Search is great. I use it all the time. What's significant about this being released on the Play Store is that not all phones had it. I mean, it's a Google app. Most phones had it, but for example, the HTC DNA did not have it, and because of it, the latest Google Now, Google Search update, where you could do the voice command and say, "What song is this?" It didn't work on the DNA because stock DNA doesn't include that APK. It doesn't include that application, the Sound Search. So Google released it to the Play Store, so now everybody can install it. If your ROM is missing it, no big deal. It's just an app to install from the store. Sound Search still doesn't work with the voice command. It still says your device is unsupported. I'm assuming this is a big assumption on my part, but I'm assuming the search update that happened this week, yesterday, I believe, that is going to fix that. I assume that the last part is they have to basically just update the server-side patch that says this device is no longer supported, make that say you need to have XYZ application installed, in this case Sound Search, and if you have it, give the result back. If you don't, say if you want this to work, you must go here and download this app.
I think the update is probably just the linking to the Play Store, because they were able to fix the DNA with a server-side fix, so they can turn it back on with a server-side fix too.
Yeah, so if they turn that back on, then hopefully Search will just say you need to install this app if you don't have it. And that's our guess. I still can't use it. I don't know if I would ever use it besides 1 or 2 times, because honestly it's easier just to tap the widget instead of hitting the microphone button
and
then talking to it, when I could just tap the widget. But hey, I want to be able to do it, damn it, because it's a feature.
And Samantha McLean, my main phone is a Galaxy Nexus right now. In a couple of days, it will be a Nexus 4.
What?
Yep. Okay, moving on. Google Calendar got updated.
This is the Play Store version, right? Not the
the Play Store version. Yep.
AOSP version.
Yep. And basically, it adds the features of call and go to map directly from notifications, which is nice. Location suggestion on event creation, very nice. And quick event creation from month view, which I believe that was in the AOSP version. Quick event?
I don't think so.
No, that's a new addition. I mean,
not in the month view.
Oh yeah, okay. So it's specific to the month. Okay.
Yeah, when you switch to the month view, it took the button away.
Okay. And then Play Store Movies got updated. It's now available in 11 countries. Also, faster updates when new TV episodes are available, and it fixes to make downloads more resilient.
Is that 11 more countries or 11 total countries?
Now available in 11 total countries.
Wow.
They're moving along though.
No, they're not.
They're moving along.
No, not at all.
That's 5% of the world's countries.
You know, it doesn't. I'm sure if Google wanted to,
5%.
I'm sure Google wants to have movies available everywhere, but it's not Google's fault. It's licensing regulations. It's the movie industry saying we want money. Damn it. I'm sure it's not Google being evil here. It's not their fault.
John on Google Plus states that we need an IRC channel. I agree with him.
You know what? We do have one.
100%.
You can go there right now. I'm not there, but it's a registered channel on Freenode, Android Authority, all one word. Go there, talk amongst yourselves. Maybe I'll load up XChat and join in a few seconds. Go. All right.
All right, let's move on. Google
We should
Earth.
actually implement that. I made that ERC channel like 6 months
I
ago.
really like that idea.
I made it 6 months ago, and then we never used it. Maybe we should start using it. Just
Yeah.
Hey, wait a minute, they're going to have ops in that channel. That's awesome.
buddy. Let's use it, and next week, and see if it works. If it works, we'll continue to use it.
Yeah.
Maybe
All
you can join now if you want. Give it a test drive.
All right, so Google Earth, again, generic bug fixes. I haven't noticed anything. Google Offers got a greatly improved purchase experience, which is true, although they still have some faults, and then it has some assorted bug fixes, not just bug fixes, assorted. They have to, that just annoys me. Google Shopper, bug fixes, UI enhancements, and performance improvements. It is a lot faster, and they still need to do some stuff with picture cache. It's not as good as it needs to be. And then the Play Store got updated as well. Got some bug fixes, we assume. There's no real change log for it. And Maps for iOS, Google Maps for iOS got released, which is big
there's
news.
no excuse for people in iOS getting lost now, and having a fleet come and save you in Australia.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's big news. Comparison between the Android version and the Apple version, I haven't seen an article that compares them directly. I mean,
I haven't either.
so, I mean, if anybody is writing articles, I would love to see a comparison because that would be interesting because then I would know what they have and what we have. And,
Yeah, I mean, it looks like there's a lot of new UI, drawing pretty heavily from the Google Now style, which personally I think looks great and is a lot cleaner than the Android version.
Yeah.
I understand it still has a feature deficit compared to the Android version.
It does. The Verge did a pretty. They mentioned Android Maps in their review of iOS Maps. I do like the look of iOS Maps better, but they did have the benefit of starting from scratch. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about an Android situation for bringing changes that have to also work for Gingerbread and for Foreo users, and they're not building onto an existing platform. So, I think the main thing that Android has over it still is along the lines of like places and location share. Well, they have most of that, but like latitude and all that. I can't remember if iOS Maps has that or not.
and also immediate controls. If you want to do stuff, it's pretty much there. I read an article about that, and that made a lot of sense. Okay, and then you know how Facebook, one of the biggest social networks in the world,
What they say.
they had a shitty Android app. It was horrible. They added a little bit of features and stuff. Then today they added a brand new app. No HTML5. It's all native Java. It is a lot faster, and it is actually usable. Even I haven't used it for like an old phone, but for my Galaxy Nexus, it's like night and day.
So I have a question for those of you watching right now. Do you still use Facebook on your phone? I uninstalled it a year and a half ago when Google Plus launched, and I haven't had it on any phone since. So
I don't use Facebook anymore at all.
I'm just curious. What are our viewers? Are you into the F book? Let us know.
I have it installed for the sole purpose of me watching for updates. Because I'm curious to see if they ever improve it.
Until it drains your battery. And
Yeah, I mean, you can turn some stuff off, and it's really hard to do, but whatever. But yeah, and they also do have like a when you click on a photo, it's a kind of a cool animation. Google Plus kind of need to copy that, and or something like that. Your picture viewing sucks. Okay,
I think they call
Derek, let's move on.
All right, so devices. If you're rocking the Verizon Galaxy S3 on stock, you'll be happy to know that Jelly Bean is going to come out tomorrow. So sometime tomorrow, start smashing that F5. Start smashing that check for system update. And a little trick that works from time to time is to go in and clear the Android services framework, force stop it, clear data cache on it, reboot your phone. Sometimes that helps. Sometimes it doesn't. They're rolled out in batches, so it might not be available for your device till Monday. Who knows? But you know what? If you're bored and you want to tap check update, do it to your heart's content. To continue jelly beaning all the things, Sprint's HTC Evo 4G LTE, which is just an awesome name for a phone. HTC EVO 4G LTE. Anyways, it's getting Jelly Bean started. That started today, and Motorola's Razr HD is getting Jelly Bean on Telstra. So, congratulations, users of those devices on those carriers. You're getting some Jelly Bean, a good 6 months after it was released. Continuing on with devices, there was some Note 3 rumors this week. So, some of the rumors said that it was going to be a 6.3-inch screen. So,
all about that.
Our initial thoughts were, wow, that is huge. Can you handle a 6.3-incher? That's pretty big.
Give me 7. I'm happy.
Yeah, and some of us carry around, the Nexus 7, which is a 7-incher, so you can handle that fine. So, is it really that big of a deal? Some of us put the Nexus 7 in our front pocket or our back pocket. And then you look into it a little bit more, and you think, well, is it really going to be actually that much bigger than the current Note 2? And I'm guessing probably not. So let's talk about some numbers.
That's a lot. That's 0.8 inches.
We'll look at it here. So the Note, the original Note was 0.78 inches by 3.27 inches. Okay, and it had 5 inches of viewable. Now, the Note 2 is 5.94, which is only about an eighth of an inch difference, by 3.17, which is actually a little bit smaller. So, and they got an extra half of an inch out of that. So,
0.2 inches actually. It was 5.3 on the Note 1.
Yeah.
Yep.
What did I say?
5.
Okay. Yeah. So the 5.3. Okay. So yeah, it's two inches different. So on the Note 3, what if they got rid of the bezel, or
edge to edge,
made it much smaller, made it edge to edge, like John said, and that's how you're getting 6.3 inches. Could that happen?
What if they did like Apple did and made it taller but not wider?
Oh no!
Oh my God! Stop that. But
Well,
the
16 to 12 aspect ratio.
Yeah, I mean, when you get into the bezel and a larger device, like with the Nexus 7, it has a bezel, and I would not like it if it didn't have a bezel, because it is actually really nice because I don't interact with my device when I pick it up. And I personally think that on a bigger device, like when you get past the Note 2's size, a bezel is kind of nice to have, actually. Whether you get less screen real estate, usability, I think it's better.
Yeah.
You know what? When I was debating whether to buy the Note 2 or the DNA, I put the two side by side, and there's a good half-inch difference between the two. And yet they're both, the one's the screen's slightly bigger. But in terms of width, which that doesn't have anything, that doesn't have anything to do with the actual. Well, it does, but that's not the actual 5.5 inches of screen. But the width is about a half an inch difference right there. They're the same, roughly the same length. So it looks like a microphone compared to it, but they have the same, roughly, the same 5-inch screen. So I think that we're not going to notice a difference really. They're just if they just get rid of the bezel. That's my thought.
That's a big difference to hide out of just the bezel. You're talking about 0.8 inches. You don't have that much bezel on the Note 2 to begin with.
So what if they made it
shrink down the footprint so it's only just a little bit larger? That makes a difference in terms of holding it in your hands, but that's a massive difference in usable area. There's not a remote chance that you're going to be able to reach the far corner of the screen with your thumb.
And you know what? That's why it has a stylus.
Yeah. But it means you absolutely have to use it as two hands.
Go ahead.
No, you got it, bro.
I was going to say, I was using the Galaxy Tab, the original, as my phone hacked up. So, I mean, you take away the bezel, and 7 inches is just right, fits in the pocket, take away the thickness of the Galaxy Tab also. And 7 inches, 6.3, it's not that big nowadays. That's average.
Making them smaller all the time.
I walk around with an Nexus 7 in my front pocket or my back pocket, and it feels fine.
Do people ask you if that's an Nexus 7 in your pocket?
Actually, today we had a discussion about that on Google Plus, and I took a picture of the phone in my pocket and got all sorts of comments about that. Because I was doing a comparison. Is that the DNA in your pocket, or is that the Nexus 7 in your pocket? You just
Was
have
this
to
done in a Google Plus community, or?
No, it was on public. All right, so up next on devices, the Galaxy Note 2. We keep talking about it here. We're comparing it to the rumored Note 3. Adam Outler, famed XDA Android hacker, did his awesome things that he does, and he unlocked the bootloader for the Galaxy Note 2 this week. And Johnny Frank, he has actually gone through the steps to unlock the bootloader. And John, you want to tell us a little bit about that? What was your experience unlocking the bootloader?
It's pretty seamless. I did wait until this morning to do it because I didn't want to be the guinea pig for the first run of this. But it is important to note that this is not just a bootloader lock. It's an IROM unlock, which is actually higher. So Adam put out a post today reminding people that this thing is basically development board kind of unlocked, and you could flash anything under the sun on top of them. So make sure that if you do flash the unlocked stock bootloader that they provide, or a Verizon stock. Do not flash a bootloader from another. And realistically, you don't have a lot of reason or justification to flash a bootloader from another carrier, but just to cover it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. And do not use Odin to flash any ROMs anymore unless you're flashing back to stock. As far as the exploit goes, it's pretty seamless. The team of people that he worked with basically came up with a PIT file. They injected it into a partition, and what you're going to do is load up his revision ROM in addition to the PIT file and flash that to your phone via Odin. Then it's going to reboot your phone. Adam has his casual. It's a little Java applet. It stands for cross-platform ADB scripting universal Android loader. And that's how he deploys the exploits. You're going to boot up and put it into USB debugging mode and load that up with the phone. Another thing to note is if you're on Windows 7 64-bit, to right-click and go to Properties on the applications and hit Unblock for everything to make sure that the application has the privileges because it's going to pull files off of your device to cache them for later to put back on there after you get done with this. You're going to run the casual script, and it's going to boot your phone back into download mode, and this is actually an insecure download mode that allows you to pile this bootloader on. And the package is you're going to load the PIT file again and the Suck It Verizon Odin package, which takes about 10 seconds. And you're going to run through this. You want to keep casual open during the entirety of this, and you're going to reboot the phone. It will load back to make sure you have LTE, all the files that it's cached, and it will give you a notification that you're unlocked. And after that, you're good to go. It takes, if you're paying attention, it takes less than 10 minutes. A lot of people had issues with it, and I would say that if you're having issues, look at the documentation, watch his videos multiple times to make sure you're doing every single step correctly. But
and with something like this, you definitely want to watch those videos before you start, not like, oh, I'll just follow along.
Yeah.
Make sure you understand what's going on before you start messing around with this.
Yeah, this is not at all something you want to do based upon a quick glance at a forum or fly by the seat of your pants, because there's no guarantee that you'll be able to go back to stock and not end up with a brick device. So make absolutely sure you follow every direction to the T. And once you do, it's going to boot you back into Team Win recovery. And that's Team Win recovery is the point you're going to reboot system, have casual open. It's going to notify you you're unlocked, and you're good to go. It's pretty much gone from a lockdown secure device to development board status. You're going to see ROMs kind of start pouring in now. And
yeah, John. So, are there any de-bloated ROMs starting to show up?
He didn't really de-bloat it, but Beanstown put out an initial ROM, and of course he's going to come out with his own themed and modified version that's basically just a DODEX and put all the typical modifications.
Nice.
Insecure boot.
Now, we've obviously all unlocked multiple devices before. Compared to a Nexus device. I mean, Nexus device, you look at it and it unlocks itself. The DNA was a little bit of a pain in the ass to unlock it. For me, I mean, it was easy. It wasn't hard.
Evil Empire.
What's that?
You gotta get away from the evil empire.
I gotta get away from the evil
Cold
empire.
cards.
I'll get away from the evil empire whenever another empire comes in and puts up towers here. But it was a pain in the ass, but it wasn't hard. Same type of thing, John. It wasn't hard, just a pain in the ass to go through all the steps.
Yeah. It's one of those things where the more you want to, reading about it and getting yourself hyped up about it kind of helps you, because the more you know, the less frustration you're going to have. So just make sure that you're informed before you even try it, because that's when you're going to start wanting to throw something against the wall when you get to methods like this.
And speaking of getting away from the evil empire, so Scott, you're in Galaxy Nexus as part of the evil empire right now. I can't believe we keep calling Verizon that. I like Verizon. So which carrier are you going to with the Nexus 4?
I'm leaning towards T-Mobile, just because I'm looking at HSPA networks, and T-Mobile's is better, flat out. Hands down. And I'm in a big metropolitan area, Minneapolis, so T-Mobile, I think, is going to be the way to go.
Yeah, well, John, I assume John Curley. I assume your Nexus 4 is on AT&T, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
3G.
How is there?
I was just saying, do you have HSPA Plus down in your neck of the woods in PA?
I have LTE in my area, and
That's better.
let's just say that my top is 7 megabits per second I've seen on my Nexus 4.
Oh, that's sad. I've seen 21 on T-Mobile.
Hey, that's not bad here in State College area on HSPA Plus. I saw 3 one day.
Wait, let me go get my S3 and bring out 42 megabits per second.
How many?
42.
42. Okay, just wait till more people join the network.
That's because it's you and that other guy on the other side of town.
Pretty much. Oh, wait, we got it up in Wilkes-Barre too now. I mean, if I ever go up there.
So speaking of carriers, let's talk about how they keep growing their networks, doing things to make their customers hopefully happy.
Happy, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
AT&T is actually adding 6 more markets to their LTE coverage zone.
In Allentown, I saw, which is about 2.5 hours from me, so that doesn't help me out.
Wilkes-Barre's up there too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wilkes-Barre's up there.
places, and several others. Verizon is adding 16 more by the 20th of December.
And they're all out west.
Yeah, they're all out west in Colorado, Wyoming, Oregon, Washington. So, yeah, they saw AT&T's and raised them 10 more. T-Mobile, though,
smaller areas.
Yeah, is officially lighting up their iPhone-friendly PCS HSPA Plus in 5 more markets, bringing it to 23 total and covering 100 million people, which puts them at their year-end goal, which is great for T-Mobile. It'll be nicer when they start building LTE, but small steps. But the bigger news with T-Mobile is their plans for next year, not just their network concerns, but they're going to start carrying the iPhone
unsubsidized.
They're the only major carrier in the U.S. that hasn't been. But unlike all of the other carriers, they are going to stop using carrier subsidies and start selling the iPhone and all other devices at full price.
This is going to kill them.
Well, I don't think you're right about that, because what they're doing is basically going to a plan that they currently have where you get a discounted plan rate, monthly plan rate, and then you pay on top of that. It's like $10 or $15 a month for the full price of your phone, spread out for however many months it takes to pay it at the 10 or 15 bucks a month. So you aren't necessarily going to have to pay $600 to get your phone. It'll be $300 with another $300 spread out over the next several months.
That's what they have right now. They're going to fully unsubsidized.
No, they're going to keep that because it's still the fully unsubsidized price. They're just allowing you to amortize it across 6 months. But you're directly paying a fee for the phone that is separate from your monthly bill for service and is paid off on a different term.
That's going to be fun.
It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to stir things up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think for consumers, nobody wants to pay $600 for a phone, but on the other hand, I think it will do good for the market if people realize that a $600 phone is worth $600 and that the crappy track phone that you see at Walmart that's $120 off contract isn't really competing with your $200 brand new Android and iPhones, right? Like, yeah, sure, that's only $80 apart, but they're not in the same league.
It should be interesting.
You might see a big push there for consumer awareness anyway, but with Google coming in with a $350 device, if people start competing in that market, it's going to become a lot more viable to talk consumers into it.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Google competing at the $300 price point, right? Like, that's the same price as a lot of brand new devices subsidized on Verizon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm excited about the shake-up and just kind of doing it a different way. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the real reason behind it is that in order to get the iPhone, you basically have to pay Apple in advance for the next 5 years of all of those subsidies. And then you actually have to meet the sales goals, otherwise you're just screwed out of the money that you've spent. And T-Mobile is pretty much saying, screw you, no, we can buy them wholesale direct from the manufacturer. Just go online and buy 10,000 iPhones and resell them at full price without dealing with all of your contract bullshit. And so this is more or less their way to sell the iPhone and not have to deal with the Apple crap.
Mm-hmm. They're really the only carrier with a network that they can do that too.
Yep. Yeah. So other carrier news, Sprint is going to try and buy out the rest of Clearwire, so the other 49.6% that they don't already own, for a little over $2 billion, but only on the condition that SoftBank gets to complete their 70% takeover of Sprint for $20 billion and change, I think. So we know where the first 10% of that investment is going. And in Europe, Everything Everywhere is targeting 17 more markets for LTE rollout by
That's
March.
good.
Damn.
Yeah, they're moving pretty quickly in the UK, and this is still all before the Ofcom auction, so they are the only game in town, so to speak. So good news for people in the UK who use Everything Everywhere in the I've heard relatively narrow areas that they actually cover. And then in patent news, there really hasn't been a whole lot this week, but a patent troll company called Mobile Media that's got a lot of Sony and Nokia-owned patents won a small victory over Apple on 3 patents with a potential injunction and damages hearings to come. So this is Nokia and Sony basically hiding behind their little shell company patent troll to go after Apple without any retribution from Apple. So kind of a win for Android, but kind of a whole dirty mess from top to bottom.
Well, I don't think we really ever say that patents and patent trolling, anything involved with that is ever anything not but a dirty mess. And
yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, we never say, and in patent news something was.
It's awesome patent troll today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's always pretty shitty, quite frankly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully, one of these days, reform comes.
Yeah. In entertaining, not quite patent news, but I guess licensing, Apple and Microsoft are apparently in a spat over the in-app purchasing policies through iTunes. So apparently Microsoft, in their SkyDrive application for iOS, had made it so in-app you can purchase additional storage. The problem is, if you ever run your service through iTunes for an in-app purchase, all future purchases made by that end user have to go through Apple. So if you, on your iPhone, buy more storage on SkyDrive, and then later on your desktop computer go and buy more storage, that second transaction still has to get piped through Apple, and Apple still wants a 30% cut. Unsurprisingly, Microsoft's not willing to give Apple a 30% cut for sales that aren't actually made through Apple. And so Apple has evidently frozen their app, blocked all updates in the App Store, and Microsoft is pretty pissed about it. So, yet more developers getting annoyed with Apple's ridiculous in-app purchasing policies.
It does. I don't see where they have any right to.
They don't.
They don't.
Like, I get
SkyDrive storage.
Talk about the sale made through our service for in-app purchases on the iPhone, but it's really offensive to then turn around and demand another 30% cut off of sales made elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is just really, really arrogant.
And as much as people used to complain about, everyone's like, Microsoft's getting theirs, but as much as people used to complain about Microsoft with antitrust getting mad because they used to put a browser on an operating system in Europe, and Apple's dictating so much of their own operating system, nobody's come after because...
I mean, the problem that people haven't realized is they look at, there's competition in the smartphone market, and it's open, and you consumers are free to choose Apple, Android, Windows Phone, BlackBerry, whatever, and that is relatively open. But what's not open is the market for iOS applications.
Right.
That is a market unto itself, and Apple has absolute dictatorial control over it in an absolute monopolistic fashion.
Very much so.
Until app developers start going after them for it, it's not going to be until really the courts see app development as its own market.
So one thing we didn't talk about earlier when we did ecosystem, kind of, it's Android related, it's Google related, and we're all here because we like El Goog a little bit. So Google announced that they aren't going to join the Windows RT, the Windows ecosystem. They're not going to put out Google apps for Windows RT. So that means there's not going to be an official Maps or Earth or Gmail, which you can use all those in the browser, well, except for Earth, I guess, but that's pretty much Maps anyways. So big news, not a big deal. Who cares? Bad move. What do you guys think?
I think I'm going to side with Daryl Barnes and say fuck Google on that one.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, they're right. Until there's actually users and people who want the apps, it's not worth their time to develop it. But they also said if that changes, if people start using these things and if there's a market for it, sure, we'll enter that market. But right now, the market doesn't exist, so why are we going to waste our time?
Windows RT has a giant question mark on it. I don't think there's any doubt that the x86 version of Windows 8 is going to get adoption. The RT version, on the other hand, right now is garbage.
Yeah, I mean, when they say no Windows 8 support, they mean Windows 8 RT. They mean the modern UI, the Metro, all that crap.
The thing that nobody's
really like in the first place. I use
the
Windows 8 every day and use Google products in desktop mode in Chrome. It works just fine. Nobody worry, Chrome is still going to be there.
Yeah, and there is a Windows RT Chrome.
Yeah, it just sucks because they don't actually have
because Microsoft doesn't allow them access to the operating system APIs.
Yeah, and I just don't see RT as a platform competing that much on the tablet space.
I don't either.
I mean, x86 legacy tablet that can support backwards applications. I could see that if Intel gets a legit mobile competitor power consumption wise, but other than that,
i5 crammed in your tablet. That's craziness.
We'll see what happens a year from now.
Battery life,
give it some time to take off. I don't think it's going to take off, but let's see what the adoption rate is in a year, and then if it's viable, then Google might.
The adoption rate seems to be the ones that Microsoft paid for itself to give to its own employees,
or people accidentally bought it because it was cheap
because they thought it was an iPad,
and then they realized, oh wait, nothing I have actually works on it.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, they were misled into thinking that it was a Windows machine. Crazy.
Yeah, so Windows RT is the exact same as Windows 8? Oh, yeah.
No, wait, you mean I can't run anything that I can run on the other platform? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a big marketing fail. Or it's not a marketing fail, and they know what they're doing. They're just trying to push people towards it.
We're geniuses at making people accidentally buy our products.
All right, so we have any questions here, or we need to wrap up? I know it wasn't anything extremely exciting this week. There wasn't any major news. I mean, well, actually, there was some exciting news. Derek Ross is going to become a Tiamat kernel maintainer for the DNA. That's pretty damn exciting. I'm not going to lie. I mean, so do I get one of those cool little graphics for my profile that you and Randall and BRD have, or what? No comment?
No badge?
I gotta find the guy who made it.
I don't need one, man. I'm just busting you on you.
Photoshop and whatnot, then sure, give you the original. But I don't know. My idea of graphics is Microsoft Paint. Anything beyond that?
Right, so
you should make him one.
If you're watching this or listening to us, that's your homework assignment for next week. Make me a Microsoft Paint Tiamat kernel logo, and I'll use it for the DNA. And that'll be the official Tiamat DNA logo for the DNA.
Okay, let's wrap up here. So if you guys are watching us and want to listen to us later, we are available on SoundCloud. We are also on Stitcher Radio, also on Podbean. We've been thinking about going exclusively on SoundCloud, but we'll see how that works out in the future. But we're pretty excited about that. If you go to androidauthority.com and you scroll down to the bottom right, there's a section called On Air, and that will be our RSS feed, and you can stay in tune with all of our goodies there. Comment on YouTube, comment on the Google Plus page, Android Authority Google Plus page. We see all of the comments, and we are going to be newly implementing the IRC channel, which will be nice, I think.
Yeah, so you can go and join now and hang out with us there. We'll be idling like hell over the next week from time to time. Maybe popping in there in the evening once or for a few minutes. Our screens will be in there, so we won't really be in there. Maybe. So it's irc.freenode.net and then channel Android Authority. I said we made it 6 months ago. Maybe it's about time to actually use it, see if it's beneficial, see if we like it.
Also, with regards to the IRC channel, we'll be in their pre-show, so if you guys want to talk about anything, or if you think anything that you guys want to talk about or you want to hear about, talk to us in pre-show, and we will see if we can go over it. Sound good, guys?
And just an FYI, you can join anywhere from the country. It's not or anywhere in the world. It's not restricted. So like UK, Russia, wherever you can join the IRC channel.
Sweet. All right, everybody have a great weekend.
All right, have a good weekend, guys.
Take it easy.
What's up?